G'day guys, my name's Nick. So in today's video I'm going to show you just how easy it is to change the transfer case oil on your full drive. So to carry out the transfer case oil change today, we're going to need a couple of tools and bits and pieces. So what I've got here is a funnel, an oil transfer pump, an oil drain pan. I have some transfer case oil. I've got some workshop degreaser, a 1/2 inch breaker bar with a 24mm socket, and I also have a 1/2 inch ratchet here as well. So underneath all of this I have a bit of cardboard which I like to throw under the vehicle just to catch any of those little drips or drops that might escape the drain pan. In the Isuzu MUX and D-Max they actually recommend using engine oil in the transfer case. So each car is different in what oil the manufacturer will recommend to use in the transfer case, so just make sure that you're checking at your local auto store what they recommend to use. So how often should you replace your transfer case oil? So according to the Isuzu service manual, replacing the transfer case oil is not part of general servicing. But what is part of general servicing is that the transfer case oil is checked every single service, so inspected, and then cleaned, repaired, or replaced as necessary. So the first step to changing your transfer case oil is to go for a 10 to 15 minute drive to get the vehicle up to operating temperature and to thin out the oil. So with the oil thinned out in the transfer case, when we drain it, we'll be able to get the most amount of that old oil out and replenish it with new oil afterwards. So let's go. So now we've been for a 15-minute drive, our transfer case oil is nice and hot, and now we can chuck all our bits and pieces under the vehicle and start draining the oil. So I've just chucked my cardboard down under everything. I've got my drain pan ready and my 24mm socket. So now I can just crack the bungs off on the transfer case. So that's the fill bung, and this is the drain bung. Now we can just loosen these off and drain the oil. So we'll pull the fill bung out first. And then we'll release the drain bung. And we'll just let that drain completely until no more drips are coming out. So just while we're waiting for the oil to drain out of the transfer case, I'll just talk to you guys about what the transfer case actually does. So how does the transfer case work? So the drive comes from the engine flywheel or flex plate through the torque converter into the transmission, and then it's carried through the transmission into the transfer case, and then the transfer case decides where the drive goes. So when we have two-wheel drive selected, the drive will go to the rear axle, down to the rear diff. When we select four-wheel drive, it will connect a chain or gearing inside the transfer case, which then supplies drive to the rear and front axles. And then when we select low range, inside the transfer case, low range gearing is engaged, and we have ultra low speeds coming out of our transfer case and going to our wheels. So what that gives us is our ultra low range gearing for that really technical driving. So a transfer case is basically exactly as it's named. It's a transfer case. So it is in control of transferring the drive from the transmission to the front and rear axles, and it's also in control of transferring the gearing from high and low range. So now it's time to fit the drain bung back to the transfer case. So just make sure when you're fitting the drain bung, you are fitting the bung with the magnet back into the drain. So this little magnet just helps pick up any little bits of swarf and bits and pieces that are floating around the transfer case with general wear and tear. So I'll fit the drain bung now and we'll get it tightened up. Now this doesn't need to be mega tight, guys. You really just need to give it a little nip with a shorter bar. So I've just got my little transfer pump here in my barrel of oil. So I'm just going to put that into the fill and start pumping. So there you go, the transfer case is full now. So you can see it's pouring out. So that means that the transfer case is full when it pours out the fill bung. So we'll just let it drain out a little bit, just till it starts to drip, and then we know it's perfect. Okay, so that transfer case is full now, and you can see the oil is just sitting right there. So that means it's perfectly full, and it's just dripping out, which is exactly how we want it. Now just put the fill bung in, and tighten it up. I'll just double check both of those bungs, make sure they're nice and tight. Now we'll give it a bit of a spray with some degreaser. So now I'm just going to give it a bit of a hose down, help that degreaser clean away any of that excess oil, and we'll take the vehicle for a good drive, come back and recheck that we have no leaks from the transfer case. So I've just been for a little drive, and I jump back under the car and just making sure that I haven't got any leaks from either of those bungs. So we look all good under here, so we're all finished. So there you go guys, that's how easy it is to change the transfer case oil on your 4-drive vehicle. So all the steps I've shown you guys today are pretty universal across all 4-wheel drives. And it's definitely a job that you can do at home yourselves with some basic hand tools. So what I'm going to do is drop down in the comments and the description below a link to a couple of tools and bits and pieces that will make the job a heap easier for you guys. So thanks a lot for watching guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for more 4-wheel driving, accessory fitting and maintenance videos. Cheers guys.